Hey, we're doing my 2021 reads part 2. This is where I talk about the books, like novels that I've read. I already made a part 1 about manga, so if you like manga, you should definitely check that out. This time we're keeping it strictly to novels. So here we go. This is my 2021 reads novel edition. We'll start with the Broken Earth Trilogy by N.K. Jemisin, one of the most highly regarded modern fantasy books and series, and it's easy to see why. We have a bleak but fully realized outlook on human nature and the way we interact with the world we live in. But for me, I almost felt like it went too far in that direction and went too self-serious and bleak. It almost leaned into that so much that it neglected the full spectrum of the human experience. Like, just off the top of my head, a lot of times with bleakness comes dark humor and gallows humor and levity to break that tension and stress that we're always under. And I didn't really get any of that from this. But overall, it's still a very well written series. The quality of writing is undeniable. DFZ by Rachel Aaron. I did the audiobooks for this series and it was a ton of fun. It's urban fantasy with like magic and dragons and wizards living in Detroit, but with the added twist of being in the future. So there's a lot of like sci-fi and cyberpunk elements, and she melds these two different genres very well. You combine that strong setting with really tight pacing and very satisfying character arcs, and I can see this being a comfort reread for me many times in the future. It's just a lot of fun. Gideon the Ninth by Tamsin Weir. Lesbian necromancers explore a haunted house in space on their search for immortality. That is a hell of a sales pitch. But yeah, it's a super creative and interesting setting with a very strong protagonist as well as a solid supporting cast. It's also surprisingly heartfelt at points. It has mystery, it has intrigue, it has comedy. This is just like the definition of a blockbuster sci-fi or fantasy series. Highly recommend this one. Ancillary Justice by Ann Leckie. This is just classic thought-provoking sci-fi. It takes this concept of AI and it explores it in a way that serves as a mirror for human nature. That's what classic sci-fi does, and this book does it incredibly well. It also has a lot to say about imperialism and is very thought-provoking. If you like space operas, it's a must-read. The first book is definitely up there in my favorite things I've read this year, but I didn't really love the sequels as much. But yeah, that first book is a must read. The Dark Tower series by Stephen King. I also made a video about this series. Basically, starts strong, gets weaker, gets convoluted, but it's just so batshit insane that you can't help but be along for the ride. I don't know how much I like it, but I'm very happy that I read it. If you like Stephen King, give it a shot. If you don't like Stephen King, it's not going to change your mind. And if you've never read Stephen King, don't start with The Dark Tower. The Hun Artist by Alka Joshi. Another thing that I have a video about, but I just want to reiterate, this is probably my favorite book that I've read this year. It's just an incredibly authentic story about a Desi woman trying to find her place in the world. If you like historical fiction or you're a sucker for great character writing in general, please read The Hun Artist by Alka Joshi. And then tell me, because I want to talk to people about it. Lord of the Rings reread. I did the audiobooks for the first time for The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. I reread or rewatch it basically every year, but never tried the audiobooks. I gotta say, the audiobook for The Hobbit is phenomenal. It's narrated by Andy Serkis, who literally plays Gollum in the movies. So you know the Gollum voice slaps, but every single voice he does, he absolutely knocks out of the park. Unfortunately, he doesn't narrate the Lord of the Rings audiobooks as well, so it's kind of underwhelming going from that to the relatively dated narration of the Lord of the Rings audiobooks. It's not bad, but I don't think it lives up to the quality of the writing itself. If you're rereading it like me, I don't think it matters that much because you already know the story. But if you're a first timer, I would recommend physically reading or reading an ebook, or watch the movies. They're not the same, but they're both amazing. Finally, we have Norse Mythology by Neil Gaiman. It's pretty self-explanatory. Norse myths. Almost dropped it there. Anyways, it's pretty self-explanatory. It's the Norse myths retold by Neil Gaiman. It was just a joy to read. Like, the way he tells these stories is just so cozy. Like, I can't think of a better way to describe it. It just feels like such a cozy experience. And of course, it's very educational. If you're interested in Norse mythology, this is a very good starting place. And that's it. That's all of the stuff I've read this year. I'm currently making my way through Herbal the Ninth, the sequel to Gideon the Ninth. Maybe I'll make a video about it. I don't know. Maybe I won't. Have you read any of the stuff that I talked about? Or are you interested in reading any of the stuff that I talked about? I'm always down to talk books and manga and stuff like that. So feel free to hit me up in the comments or on my Instagram. Hope you're having a lovely day. Hope you're getting double vaxxed up for Hot Boy Summer. And I will see you later.